Tropical cyclone Jasper right now smashing Queensland. Destructive winds, flash flooding and power outages. Special live coverage tonight from across the impact zones. Plus, ambulance officers attacked by teens in stolen cars. And music great Jimmy Barnes undergoing urgent heart surgery.
This is 9 News Queensland.
Good evening. Breaking news, Tropical cyclone Jasper is hammering into the far north Queensland coast as we go to air tonight. The system is right now making landfall, bringing ferocious winds and bucketing rain. We're taking you into the heart of the emergency tonight with special live coverage from our 9 News team in all of the major impact zones. And of course, for this major weather event, we begin with our weather expert, Garry Youngberry, who is in the thick of it at Palm Cove tonight. Garry, Cyclone Jasper is here. What is it doing right now?
Oh, Melissa, I'm certainly in the thick of it. I can assure you I am in the zone of the destructive core that surrounds the eye of the storm. The wind at the moment, well, it is storm force. There are sustained wind gusts of 115 kilometres per hour. It is stripping the bark from the trees, the foliage at the moment, and the rain torrential coming in absolutely sideways. Jasper is a Category 2 storm. We could still see winds to 140 kilometres per hour. It will track inland overnight and weaken to a tropical low, but it'll continue to tap into the moisture from the Coral Sea and bring heavy rain well into tomorrow. Big waves are pounding the coast. That will swallow up most of our beaches as well. We do have a radar image, a great image of the moisture that's rotating and spiralling around. You can see the eye of the storm that stretches from Cooktown down to around Cape Tribulation, but we are just about in the middle of that eye of the storm. It's not that far away, but it'll continue, Melissa, well into the evening and into early hours of Thursday.
We'll talk to you then, Garry. Thank you. Well, we had to wait for Jasper's arrival, the system slowing and growing in power as it approached the coast. And now that the Category 2 system is striking, it really is packing a punch.
Cyclone Jasper bearing down. He's wild and angry. Destructive winds causing damage right across Port Douglas. Dougie's backpackers belted, bringing down trees.
Just have a look at one of these gusts coming through. This is what happens. They ease off for a moment and then they come roaring through.
Christmas holidays on pause while Jasper unleashes on the tropics. It spent the day teasing the far north Queensland coast, edging towards land, speeding up, then slowing down. Destructive wind gusts of 120 kilometres an hour have been recorded. Jasper right now smashing into Queensland as a Category 2 cyclone. The eye of the storm over Cape Tribulation tonight, where homes have been damaged.
It's just made an absolute mess, and we've still got round 2 to come.
The rainfall, however, the impacts will linger for quite a few days.
The rain hurts us when it hits us. It's so strong.
Where are you guys from? Where are you from? Denmark.
We're not used to this.
The deteriorating conditions coincided with the 9:30 a.m. high tide. The ocean churning furiously. This cyclist braving the elements to take a picture at Palm Cove. Nearby, the Ellis Beach Caravan Park was flooded, the beach eroding away by the force of the waves.
Oh, they were coming a metre over land as it was, so big.
The beaches from Port Douglas down to Cairns are all taking a hammering. The waves so big, some surfers couldn't resist, even after all the warnings.
This is not the time to go driving around. This is not the time for children to go playing in the floodwaters because it is simply not safe to do so.
The mangroves are giving luxury yachts and catamarans cover from Jasper. Vessels evacuated from the marina sheltered on Dixon Inlet.
So I'm in between rain at the moment. It's pretty good. And it's what you do, you come up and you check the foredeck, make sure the ropes are good going out to the shore. Your anchor chain's down there, good.
But some haven't been able to escape the wrath of Jasper.
Looks like the cyclone has claimed its first victim.
Right across the far north, main roads are closed due to landslides, massive trees falling and flooding. Wild wind gusts early this morning brought trees down on the Cairns waterfront and in the main street. A tropical holiday so many tourists will never forget.
I came here to go snorkeling and to shop.
The snorkelling will have to wait. Cairns Marina abandoned all bar a lonely jet ski. Fences have come crashing down.
These fences down here, they're bolted down, but the sheer strength of these winds has just ripped it right off the hinges.
The fight is not over. The next 24 hours will be critical. We're expecting up to 500 millimetres of rain, which is likely to cause flash flooding.
A flying branch smacked into a power pole. Close to 15,000 people tonight without power, a number likely to grow. Cairns Airport is well and truly closed. 93 flights cancelled so far. Residents told it's too late to relocate. It's time to shelter in place, which is what most far north Queenslanders are doing, riding out Jasper with a drink in hand, of course. Authorities in the southeast and far north of the state watching Jasper closely tonight, a night that will be sleepless for so many. Jessica Millward, 9 News.
Let's go live now to Cam Inglis at Yorkeys Knob, which is just north of Cairns. Cam, you've been in the elements all day, but conditions must be intensifying now.
Yeah, they certainly are, Melissa. We are getting absolutely smashed here. The conditions certainly are getting worse. The winds now are really picking up. The rain right now, it almost feels like hail. It is stinging so much. I haven't been pummeled this much since high school. We've had a few people here coming to Sticky Beak, but the conditions are now so bad that they've basically had to retreat to their cars as quickly as possible. The swell out here, the waves are just going berserk right now as this Category 2 cyclone really is whipping up into a frenzy. The wind is just building and building and building, and if you're outside of the tree line, well, I tell you what, you can feel every minute of it. We had a chat to a few people earlier who came out to brave the elements but quickly ran away. Have a listen to what they had to say.
This is not what I expected to get visiting. Yeah, definitely. It's very wet and windy.
So I was actually just come down to try and catch a barra, but lost a lure in a tree.
Lived here for a long time, and this is as big as it gets.
Nothing happens at Yorkeys.
Now, Melissa, it's really continuing to get. The trees are absolutely swaying. As the handrail almost said to hold on, you're absolutely blowing across. Right now, this wind is continuing to pick up. It's gotten worse in the last 10 minutes and is continuing to go and go and go. So hopefully out there, everyone is safe during this cyclone.
It is a wild scene, Cam. Thank you. We'll cross straight to Josh Bavis now in Port Douglas. Josh, how's the town coping as those winds pick up?
Well, Melissa, you can hear the roar of the wind and the rain howling through McCrossan Street, the main street in Port Douglas. It's ripping up trees and just shredding the vegetation. We're hearing bangs and clatters as we stand here at the entrance of a concrete garage where it is safe, but everyone is tucked away inside their homes. Just think of those storms in southeast Queensland, but imagine it lasting for hour after hour after hour. That's what's happening here in Port Douglas. I have to spare a thought for the folks up at Cape Tribulation and in the Wudjil community, because they're copping the brunt of it right now. We're about 50-60 k's from the system where we are here, and we're really getting it. We haven't been able to see all the damage that has occurred yet, but we will hope to see that in the coming day.
The impact is so widespread, isn't it, Josh? Thank you for that. Let's go live now to Mia Glover in Cairns. Mia, what sort of damage is Jasper doing around the city?
Well, at the moment I can barely open my eyes because these winds are just so strong, Melissa. I'll just get you to have a look at the Esplanade at the moment. It's absolutely whipping up trees, uprooting them from their bases. You can see there's branches scattered all around the Esplanade, even in the middle of the city as well in Cairns. It's uprooted some more trees. We also saw today a power box completely explode, and that has caused major dramas for so many people here in Cairns. Around 16,000 homes and businesses, as we go to air tonight, are without electricity, and a lot of people have been told to stay inside and hunker down, so a lot of them will be doing that without power. Of course, there is a big concern for those 15,000 residents that were in the red zone. They were evacuated yesterday due to flooding concerns. That is likely to happen a little later tonight, around 8:30 or so, so it is a very nervous wait and see for them. But for now, it's an eerie feeling here in Cairns. I mean, we're in December. This is just before Christmas, the peak of the school holidays, really. A lot of people would be here enjoying their school holidays and having fun, but there's no one inside. Melissa?
You're on your own there, Mia. Take cover soon. Thank you. We'll go now to Andrea Crothers at Cooktown on the northern edge of Cyclone Jasper. Andrea, there was a lot of worry about how the winds might affect this town. How is it faring tonight?
Good evening, Melissa. Well, this is typically a quite gusty town, belted by winds, but even today it seemed to be a lot less windy and blowy than normally. Now, the hospital landline phones, they are currently down, but all calls are being diverted to mobiles. The cyclone shelter, which only had a handful of people there, well, they have since left there, and it's also been shut down altogether. As for businesses which remained cautiously closed this morning, they have since opened their doors. Only around 26 millimetres of rain fell in Cooktown today. That's because we're in the northwest quadrant of the cyclone, which is typically the driest. So locals, tourists today, they were fairly relaxed.
The locals seem very calm and relaxed about the whole show, so I just go along with that.
Should be all sweet, just a bit of piss and wind, I hope.
Now, with some heavy rainfall still forecast, there is still a chance that the town could be isolated for a day or so should that main access road to the South to Cairns be cut off. But, Melissa, it appears that Cooktown has escaped the worst of it. And they're all breathing a sigh of relief, I bet. Andrea, thank you. Well, from the northern edge of this storm to just south of it, let's cross live to Lily Greer at Flying Fish Point in Innisfail. Lily, with Jasper moving inland now, are things beginning to calm down where you are?
Yeah, well, here at Flying Fish Point east of Innisfail, we've seen lots of rain and wind today. Still a bit of drizzle, but I can tell you just in the last hour or so, we have seen conditions ease right up. Still, I'll show you out there on the water. Conditions are still very, very choppy. You would not want to be out there right now. Plenty of cloud coverage at the moment as Cyclone Jasper moves in. And would you believe it, there are locals here who are actually happy about the downpours that we've had today. Plenty of properties here rely on rain tanks, and it's been a dry couple of months, so they're happy to see those filling up. But one gentleman who was not so happy about the weather today was Dave Pedley. We met him not long after intense wind brought a tree and power lines crashing down on his four-wheel drive. A very dangerous situation there. Take a listen.
Yeah, just driving home and, tree fell out with all the power lines on the bonnet.
What did you see when the tree came down, power lines came down?
Just a heap of trees and a heap of sparks and flames and the smell of burning plastic and stuff.
How lucky do you feel to be alive right now?
Oh, yeah, pretty lucky, yeah.
So lucky, in fact, Dave tells me he is going to buy a lotto ticket today. We know that Energex worked very, very quickly to get those power lines back up and running in the area. But as for how this region is going to fare into the evening, we know that the Bureau is forecasting some damaging wind gusts that are possible in the area. So locals here have worked quickly to get prepared. They've tied down loose items at their property, ready for whatever comes their way tonight, Melissa.
They've been through it before, haven't they, Lily? Thank you. Let's check in now with Olivana Lathouris, who's at Ellis Beach, which is just north of Palm Cove. Ollie, the coastline there, it is being battered right now.
Yeah, battered is the word, Melissa. We were speaking to a couple earlier today who said they nicknamed Jasper the friendly cyclone, but let me tell you, there is nothing friendly about the weather conditions we're experiencing here tonight. You can probably see behind me that ocean is a brown, aggressive mess, and it's moving closer and closer here to these bungalows, which are right on the beachfront. Even the sand that I am standing on, it was not here this morning. It has been washed up by that tide. Now, the tide this morning was supposed to be the biggest of the day. Tonight's one is not supposed to be as big, although it will be bolstered by a very strong storm surge. So unfortunately, that flooding that we saw here earlier today at the holiday park is still very much a possibility. We're still about 2.5 hours or so away from the peak. So unfortunately, it seems as though the conditions here, the worst of it is unfortunately yet to come, and as all of our other reporters have said tonight, the conditions are becoming more and more and more intense. So still a very long and anxious night ahead for those in this area. Melissa?
And Ollie, what have the locals been saying to you about how they're feeling about this, you know, the worst still to come?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we spoke to the manager and the owner of this holiday park here, and you know, they are very nervous. He said he's been here for well over 25 years, and these conditions are making him, really anxious. And you know, they put a lot of effort into these cabins recently. It's supposed to be a beautiful time of year here, a great time to come and enjoy a waterfront view, but certainly not today and not this week. And all they can do is hope that they'll be able to get back on their feet as soon as possible.
We will go now to the state's disaster management headquarters. Peter Fegan is there. Peter, you're in the nerve centre of this emergency response. What's the latest from authorities?
Well, good evening to you, Melissa. I'm joined by Assistant Commissioner Ben Marcus, who will run us through. Assistant Commissioner, thank you so much for your time. We understand how busy you are. What is the latest from the hit zone and the latest response from police? Have you had any call-outs?
Yeah, thank you. So the storm at the moment is passing over Wudjil. The main part of the storm is about 70 kilometres wide, but obviously we're feeling the effects towards the south of it. Police have had no particularly urgent calls for service at the moment, but I know the State Emergency Service have had 109 calls, mainly around sandbagging, leaking roofs, trees down, things of that nature.
Sadly, Assistant Commissioner, history will show us that throughout disasters, people think it's acceptable to start stealing other people's property, to start looting. What is the message of the Queensland Police Service for anyone that thinks that this is acceptable behaviour?
Yeah, well, thankfully this is something that is very, very minor in terms of occurrences. We take an extremely dim view of it, as do the courts. If we catch you, and we will, you will be prosecuted.
For the Queensland Police Service, you've had not just officers that are already in the region, but some that have left here from the southeast. What is their role? How many officers have you got? Where are they at the moment? And I'm sure that they are well and truly ready to go.
Yeah, so we've pre-positioned 40 police up in the area to directly respond, but we have a large number just outside the impact zone who will move in once the storm passes.
Sadly, history once more shows us that it doesn't matter what warning you give to some people. They think that they know the area, that they're familiar with the surrounds of their properties, wherever the case may be. They think it's acceptable to drive through floodwaters. Firstly, it is an offence. And secondly, what is your warning to people that will drive through floodwaters? Because sadly, it always happens.
Yeah, so what we have to bear in mind, 12 people in Queensland lost their lives last year driving through floodwaters. People think if they drive through once and they get through, they're fine. They're not. It is an offence. The most you can hope for is a ticket from us for disobeying a road closed sign, or an appearance in court for driving without due care and attention, or in some cases, and we do this, you will be charged with dangerous operation of motor vehicle causing death.
Assistant Commissioner, really thank you for taking some time out tonight. I think it's safe to say I speak for all Queenslanders when I thank you for your work and the efforts of all the Queensland Police Service. Melissa, it is imperative that if you do get into danger tonight, or anyone that you know is in danger, don't call the SES, call 000 immediately. Melissa?
Peter, thank you. Well, coming up, we'll have the latest tracking on Cyclone Jasper and the warnings you need to hear. Arrest gone wrong. The police officer caught on camera fighting for her life in a dramatic brawl with the man she's trying to detain. The Treasurer delivers a crucial economic update, but where's the cost of living relief? And the sign swinger spotted stopping traffic. You're watching special coverage of Tropical Cyclone Jasper, right now making landfall, lashing Cairns and towns along the far north Queensland coast. The powerful Category 2 system will continue doing damage for hours, and we will cross live to the impact zones in a moment. Right now, though, to an extraordinary attack on police during a Gold Coast arrest. Live now to McKenna Bailey. McKenna, how did this unfold?
Melissa, two men were found fast asleep inside a stolen Lexus parked in a quiet cul-de-sac in Parkwood early this morning. Police confirming a loaded revolver was found inside that car, as well as ammunition. It was a concerned community member who raised the alarm, with police attending to check on the pair. This is when things took a turn. The passenger, a 40-year-old man fleeing on foot, with a male police officer pursuing him. The female officer demanding the 36-year-old driver vacate from the vehicle. He then lunges at her and begins his attack, pulling her hair and pinning her to the ground before bolting into bushland. Tonight we can show you the terrifying moment she fights for her life.
Thankfully, their injuries aren't too serious. The male officer was taken there just for observation. The female officer has suffered a number of cuts, abrasions and contusions to her head.
Melissa, the two men have been arrested and charged, facing a total of 20 offences. They will face court tomorrow.
McKenna, thanks for the update. Australia's budget bottom line is improving, but household pressure remains with no new cost of living relief. That's according to the mid-year economic and fiscal outlook update delivered by the Treasurer. High commodity prices and Australia's strong labour market mean the budget is on track for a small deficit in the next financial year. While in good news for workers, wages are forecast to grow and overtake inflation. Gold Coast Police have swooped on a man seen waving a "Keep Left" street sign in the middle of a busy road near Oxenford. Police say the man was holding the sign above his head and screaming abuse at motorists before being arrested around 7 o'clock yesterday morning. The 35-year-old Logan man was charged with public nuisance and willful damage. He'll front court in January. In just 3 minutes, we return to your most comprehensive coverage of Tropical Cyclone Jasper, with the Category 2 system right now making landfall in the state's far north. Our 9 News reporters are live and scattered across the red zone, bringing you the latest advice and weather warnings as they come to hand, so don't go away. Also coming up after the break, will the Gabba's multi-billion-dollar rebuild be put on pause? Scenes from our youth crime crisis compared to a Mad Max film. And the latest on Jimmy Barnes' condition as the Aussie rock star undergoes heart surgery. Welcome back to our special cyclone coverage, returning to far north Queensland, where Tropical Cyclone Jasper is right now making landfall. Live to Cam Inglis, just north of Cairns at Yorkeys Knob. Cam, Jasper is certainly making a dramatic entrance tonight.
Yeah, it certainly has, Melissa. I think this afternoon we had the dress rehearsal, where this certainly is the main show. Jasper is roaring through here. These winds really are increasing with every passing 10 minutes. It's really starting to roar through here. I can barely hear myself think, and you can just see the waves now just smashing over these rocks. You can just see the spray that is coming through from these waves that is really beginning to intensify. The wind now with the rain is now becoming so hard to see. It's just visually you can't even look out that way because it just starts to sting your eyes, and it's really only increasing the last sort of half an hour we've been here. It really is continuing to build. So certainly we are getting the full strength of Jasper right now. And most people down here, we've got a couple of people over here having a bit of a look here, a bit of a sticky beak, so a couple of storm watchers who are out here just to see what's going on. But right now most people are doing the wise thing and staying in shelter because this wind, these conditions are definitely getting worse, Melissa.
Yourself, Cam. Thank you. There's uncertainty tonight about whether the $2.7 billion Gabba rebuild will definitely go ahead, with a review to take place on all major Olympic infrastructure projects. State political editor Tim Arvier joins me now. Tim, what has the government had to say about this?
Melissa, at the moment they're not ruling anything in or out with the Gabba, but clearly the new leadership team wants to reset after all the negative publicity the Gabba redevelopment has received. Yesterday, Stephen Miles said his government would set up an independent authority to oversee Olympic projects, something David Crisafulli and the LNP has long been calling for and the Palaszczuk government has long resisted. It means that now, once that body is set up, it will do a review to determine if the Gabba is actually the best option.
I want to be absolutely assured that it is the best value outcome for Queenslanders.
I think we need to pause. I think that's what the Deputy Premier's announced publicly. We're going to pause on the projects.
And there is some other big news in politics. Transport Minister Mark Bailey is resigning.
That's right, Melissa. This comes after 9 News revealed several massive blowouts that were hidden from Queenslanders. And then Mark Bailey also supported Shannon Fentiman in the leadership contest. So he knew he was a dead man walking and jumped before he was pushed. He spent 6 years in the Transport Minister's job, but despite going to the backbench now, he tells me he intends to recontest his seat of Miller at the next election. Now, I can reveal tonight his likely replacement is Ipswich MP Therese Mullen. The next Transport Minister will certainly and definitely come from Labor's right faction, and tonight multiple government sources say she is the front runner. Now, last night 9 News also revealed Police Minister Mark Ryan will leave that portfolio. Tonight we can reveal his likely replacement is current Water Minister Glenn Butcher. I'm also told Cairns MP Michael Healy is tipped to take over as Tourism Minister, and insiders have confirmed Megan Scanlon will be promoted and take on other portfolios in addition to housing. They're likely to be planning and also potentially state development as well. But Melissa, there's still plenty of negotiations to go before that cabinet is announced on Friday.
It is going to be fascinating to see how it all plays out, Tim. Thank you. Townsville paramedics are fearful and frustrated after being driven at by teens in stolen cars overnight, narrowly avoiding a collision. The police union boss says the city and his officers are at breaking point, comparing escalating crime to scenes from a Mad Max film.
Driving on the footpath, no time for traffic lights. A stolen Land Cruiser taken off-road in a Townsville joyride this morning. Parts of the city this week resemble a war zone. Heavily armed police surrounding one home yesterday afternoon following sightings of a stolen ute.
Living in Townsville is the real-life version of the movie Mad Max.
Now it's not just the thin blue line under fire, but the entire emergency front line.
In the very early hours of the last 2 mornings, our ambulance crews have reported that they've had cars driving on the wrong side of the road directly at them.
A group of teens in this stolen Camry this morning repeatedly attempted to ram an ambulance vehicle in Kerwin. The crew inside escaped to the nearest police station to take shelter, with the gang pelting them with a projectile as they drove away. It's believed the same car was involved in a similar incident less than 24 hours earlier in Kelso. Paramedics responding to a Code 1 call forced to drive off-road to avoid a head-on collision.
These are real people that are having our response to them impacted by the actions of a very few people out there in the community. I am absolutely concerned about our staff.
In the past week alone, there's been more than 60 unlawful use of a motor vehicle offences recorded in Townsville, prompting the state's police commissioner to today travel to the region.
In the last 7 days and 14 days is something we haven't seen before.
Katarina Carroll will now make a formal submission to the state government to deploy a police helicopter to Townsville.
Not only does it add to the safety of officers, but also just as importantly, the safety of our community.
Abby Guerin, 9 News.
Coming up, we return live to the state's north, where Jasper is making landfall tonight. The UN votes for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza as international support for Israel wanes. And the stone to be banned nationwide after links to lung disease. Checking finance now. The share market closed higher today. The All Ords up 22 points. Our dollar is buying 65 US cents. Checking fuel prices, the average for unleaded in Brisbane is $1.86. Diesel is $2.02. The average on the Gold Coast for unleaded is $1.91. Diesel is $2.05. RACQ says drivers should hold off on filling the tank as fuel prices will continue to fall. Continuing our special Cyclone Jasper coverage, let's go live to Josh Bavis in Port Douglas. Josh, give us an idea of how things are developing there.
Well, Melissa, it's still very wild and windy in Port Douglas. We're here in the shelter of a shopping centre, but if you look up on the hill, they're really copping those wind gusts. There was a record just before of about 111, and I think that was broken by 120 kilometres an hour, and we still have several more hours to go until the storm has passed the Port Douglas area. Thankfully, though, we still have power in the main part of Port Douglas, although I have heard reports of people on the outside of town losing power. It will be a very noisy night for people up here, and also think of the poor folks at Cape Tribulation. There were some people who stayed behind, and in the community of Wudjil, it's going to be very noisy for them. They're copping the brunt of this Category 2 storm. Thankfully, though, it only seems like trees down in the main street, but we're still yet to assess the full damage. Melissa?
Josh, thank you for that. Rock icon Jimmy Barnes has been forced to shelve his summer tour after having open heart surgery today. The 67-year-old has been in hospital for weeks, battling a bacterial infection that spread to his heart.
A voice which can raise the roof and the stamina
of an athlete, but today it was Jimmy Barnes' heart of gold which needed some repair work. Unfortunately, I got some bad news late yesterday. Going on to detail a bacterial infection he's been battling over the last fortnight, which had spread to his heart, infecting an otherwise healthy valve, requiring open heart surgery to replace it. Obviously, this is going to take me out of action for a while. This has all happened very suddenly, so it's going to take a few days for everyone to figure out what's going to be doable with my coming shows. 2 weeks ago, Jimmy Barnes gave an update from his hospital bed.
The doctors are keeping me in hospital. They won't let me leave. Got to do a few more things yet.
I'm here to allay everyone's fears. He's in wonderful hands.
His son, David Campbell, on the Today Show this morning.
He's so grateful to the nurses and the doctors for picking this up. If he hadn't got that bacterial pneumonia, he would never have picked this up. He's in the best hands. We feel very, very confident with the doctors. He's going to make a great recovery.
In 1973, as a teenager, Jimmy Barnes became the frontman of Aussie pub rockers Cold Chisel. With songs more like anthems. When the world is up, got to start again. Before a solo career boasting hit after hit. After recovering from hip surgery late last year, the working class man kicked off his national Red Hot Summer Tour last month. Now it's rest. Jimmy, get well soon. Lizzie Pearl, 9 News.
The UN General Assembly has voted on an immediate humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza as international support for Israel wanes. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese joining his New Zealand and Canadian counterparts to release a statement saying, "We are alarmed at the diminishing safe space for civilians in Gaza. The price of defeating Hamas cannot be the continuous suffering of all Palestinian civilians." The US was among the few votes against an end to fighting. Engineered stone will be banned after state and federal ministers agreed it poses an unacceptable risk to workers. The material is commonly used for kitchen benches and bathroom vanities, but the fine dust released when cut can cause silicosis, an incurable disease of the lungs.
We know that as many as 1 in 4 workers that are using engineered stone are contracting silicosis, are contracting other life-ending dust diseases. This decision today will stop the deadly scourge of silicosis in its tracks.
The ban is a world first and begins from July next year. Magic Round at Suncorp Stadium expanded to include an Origin game. The cricket shoe ban in force for tomorrow's first test against Pakistan.
And as tropical cyclone Jasper smashes the far north coast of Queensland, the southeast corner enjoyed a very warm blue sky day, but there is a lot of heat heading your way. Your full forecast not far away.
Usman Khawaja has been banned from wearing shoes that carry a message of support for Palestine in tomorrow's first test in Perth. But the opener plans to appeal the decision.
On the eve of the Australian Test summer, Usman Khawaja's thoughts were on a conflict overseas. On his shoes, a message which reads, "All lives are equal," in support of Palestinians in Gaza. But Khawaja's personal protest won't go ahead after officials intervened.
Because they believe it's a political statement under their guidelines. I don't believe it is so. It's a humanitarian appeal.
Khawaja revealing the backlash to his planned protest.
If me saying all lives are equal has resulted in people being offended to the point where they're calling me up and telling me off, well, isn't that the bigger problem?
I think it's one of our strongest points, our team, is that everyone has their own passionate views. What was on the shoes, all lives are equal. I mean, I support that.
So do you think you should be able to wear it then?
Yeah, there's rules in place, so again, I haven't really thought about it too much.
The controversy overshadowing Travis Head's elevation to vice-captain alongside Steve Smith.
Whilst, nothing's imminent, Steve's not going to play forever. I dare say I'm not going to captain forever, so we feel like we've got some responsibility to future-proof the team.
Mark Gottlieb, 9 News.
A blow for Matt Renshaw's test chances, the batsman suffering a hamstring injury in the Heat's Big Bash victory over the Thunder. Michael Neser taking what will surely go down as one of the catches of the season in the outfield. Brisbane's bowlers too good in the 20-run win that saw them claim top spot on the BBL ladder. Broncos players are urging club bosses to sort out a new contract for Ezra Mam ASAP. His teammates hoping the deal will be done by Christmas.
He had a blinder of a season last year, especially in that last game, so hopefully he can stay with us. We need that black magic in our team.
After recently re-signing until the end of 2027, Brendan Piakura wants to fill Kurt Capewell's vacated starting spot. Broncos dummy half Billy Walters is out of his comfort zone in the United States, undertaking UFC training. The NRL has signed a partnership with the UFC ahead of its historic doubleheader in Vegas.
The UFC has a massive following, particularly here in America, and they are and have been all, effectively the sport that has owned Las Vegas.
The NRL also plans to hold a combine in California in February to identify American rugby league players. Magic Round will be even more magical at Suncorp Stadium next year, with the Festival of Footy expanded to include a State of Origin game. Cane toads outside Suncorp Stadium. For once, a blue, happy to be in the company of Maroon's faithful.
No, it's all good. I think the common goal with our female space is growing the game.
Kennedy Cherrington in enemy territory, joining Queenslander Ivania Politi to announce tickets go on sale tomorrow for Game 1 of the Women's State of Origin. The showdown's on Thursday, May 16 at Lang Park, the night before Magic Round. Players hoping fans embrace 4 days of footy.
I've seen a huge shift in the way that men approach the conversation with us that play in the league, and that's phenomenal, but that's with all the work of showing women's sport on TV.
Finally, the Women's Series is going to 3 games. In 2023, the 2-match contest was drawn, but Queensland claimed the shield on aggregate points. It was awkward and outdated.
And it wasn't until we got caught up on stage that it kind of had dawned on us that we finally won.
A clean slate in 2024 and a chance to break the crowd record of 18,000 set in Townsville. Grand final heartbreak continues to drive the Lions this summer, making pre-season training in the Queensland Heat a little more bearable.
Firing our bellies now to get back there again and do it again. So I think everyone's pretty keen to get back and start training again.
And Starcevic signing a 1-year extension to stay at the Lions until the end of 2025. They've got a new coach, new look team, and now a brand new jersey. The Reds unveiling their men's and women's playing strips for the upcoming Super Rugby and Super W seasons, with financial company BMS replacing Westpac as the club's principal sponsor. Lots of changes for next year, Melissa.
They look good too. Thanks, Dom. Well, returning now to our special coverage of Tropical Cyclone Jasper, we'll check in with Olivana Lathouris, who's live for us at Ellis Beach, just north of Palm Cove. Ollie, high tide is fast approaching. Surely that's going to add to the danger there tonight.
Melissa, it definitely will. Even since we spoke to you last, this ocean has just been creeping nearer and nearer. The waves are now lapping right at this ledge here, where you can probably see earlier today the waves came and completely ripped up this earth here, exposing the roots of these trees and completely flooding this area. Now, as we move over here, we can see, maybe it's getting a little dark, but we might be able to see these beach cabins, which are literally just metres away from this water now. Earlier today during high tide, the water came up over that ledge and flooded all through here, and there are concerns that tonight it will do the same. We've still got about an hour to go until we hit that peak, and as you can see, the waves are already getting dangerously close. On top of that peak, we've got a very dangerous storm surge, so even though the high tide won't be as large as it was earlier today, that storm surge could certainly push us over the edge. It is an absolute ghost town here tonight. We can see one cabin light on, but aside from that, what would normally be a very popular, busy spot at this time of the year is almost in pitch black now. No one is here. Everyone has heeded those warnings to get out as soon as possible as these conditions really do start to worsen. We can feel now that big gust of wind. We've had gusts well over 90 kilometres an hour. The rain is absolutely pelting down. So unfortunately, it's going to be a pretty nervous night for a lot of people here. Melissa?
Yeah, it certainly will be. Ollie, thank you. We'll bring in weather expert Garry Youngberry now. And Gaz, you might be doing it tough in far north Queensland, but here it was a beautiful day in our southeast corner.
Oh, that's it, Melissa. You can rub it in if you like. There's a bit of heat heading your way as well over the next couple of days. It is raining sideways here at the moment in the far north. I will have your full and local forecast up next.
Welcome back to our special cyclone coverage. Tropical cyclone Jasper is right now making landfall just north of Cape Tribulation as a Category 2 system. Live to Mia Glover in Cairns. Mia, a long night ahead for residents there.
Oh, it certainly will be, Melissa. Good evening again to you. We've actually just had to come on the undercover part of our balcony here on the Cairns Esplanade just because those winds are really whipping up some debris out there, and they're getting stronger and stronger as the half hour goes on and into the night. We are expecting that tidal surge to come at around 8:30 as well, so that is going to be cause a lot of havoc for those low-lying areas right around the Cairns CBD. We know that the 15,000 residents in the red zone, they are in low-lying areas within Cairns itself. They are already evacuated. They were told to leave their homes and head to higher ground yesterday. But also we're seeing power outages climb. The number of homes and businesses without power tonight because of these destructive winds has risen to over 30,300 here in the far north. In Cairns alone, that's around 16,700 homes and businesses without power as we go to air. A lot of holiday makers hunkering down. Upstairs is a young family just wanting to wait this out. Hopefully, Melissa, the worst is not as bad as what is on the forecast.
We will be thinking of everyone in the region tonight. Mia, thank you. Well, it is time for the full weather forecast with Garry Youngberry now. Gaz, we've seen the far north getting battered this evening. Can we expect any storms here in the southeast?
Definitely can, Melissa, but not until Friday. But in fact, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you will see some thunderstorms developing with a few showers, but some hot weather heading your way, starting from tomorrow, with temperatures to hit the high 30s into the weekend, particularly for those inner suburbs. Right now, though, in Palm Cove, we are getting lashed. It is raining sideways. We do have storm force winds, and the ocean, well, it's climbing up the beach ever so slowly with that incoming tide, which will peak at around 8:30 this morning. I want to show you the radar again. It's quite impressive, that satellite photo and image of the moisture spiralling around Tropical Cyclone Jasper as it draws it in from the Coral Sea. It will cross far north Queensland over the coming days, weakening but drawing in a lot more rainfall. It'll be impressive, the rain gauges, by tomorrow morning. Let's have a look at temperatures now across southeast Queensland. Well, it delivered another very warm summer's day. High 20s Bayside to low 30s across the suburbs. Brisbane hit 31 at midday. Ipswich, Bow Desert and Gatton 32, Toowoomba topping out at 28. To your weather map now, Tropical Cyclone Jasper will continue to weaken as a tropical low as it moves inland, taking the heavy rain and damaging winds with it, while troughs will trigger showers and storms in the Northern Territory and southwest Queensland, while a front will bring a southerly change to New South Wales. Interstate, sunny for Perth and 29, partly cloudy, and 22 for Adelaide, 25 in Melbourne, a couple of showers Hobart, showers and storms for Darwin. Queensland, heavy rain and gale force winds for Cairns, cloudy and wet in Townsville tomorrow, slight chance of a shower in Mackay, partly cloudy and low 30s across the Capricornia, Wide Bay and Burnett. It'll be hot inland, the chance of a late shower and possible thunderstorm with 40 degrees for Mount Isa. Southeast Queensland tomorrow, mostly sunny and very warm. Northwest winds strengthening from the north-northeast, and that could help fuel a thunderstorm around the southern border ranges, but not for the city tomorrow. Temperatures overnight as low as 17 degrees inland. Daytime temperatures low 30s on the coast and reaching high 30s inland. 37 for Ipswich. Now, Moreton Bay, north-northwesterlies, 15 to 20 knots. The seas pushing up to 2 metres offshore. Brisbane, a sunny one tomorrow. Moderate northwest to northeasters and 34 degrees. Your 7 7-day outlook: Friday 35, showers and thunderstorms. Saturday 35 with a shower or two and possible storm. Monday 32 and a shower or two. Ipswich, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, high 30s each day with a few showers and possible thunderstorms. For the Gold Coast, Friday 33, showers and storms. Saturday 33, possible shower and storm. And again on Sunday with 31. The Sunshine Coast, hot and humid Friday and Saturday with showers and storms developing. Sunday 32 and still the chance of a shower and thunderstorms. A lot more rain to come for far north Queensland. We could even see some thunderstorms overnight, and it'll be impressive to check the rain gauges tomorrow morning, Melissa.
It will indeed, Garry. Thank you. And that is 9 News Queensland for this evening. Deb Knight is next with a current affair. We'll continue to cover this unfolding emergency in far north Queensland. Good night.